This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
It was a fine day for wonders. Giant lobster claws, a little pagoda, and some unburnable asbestos paper. These were the peculiar riches of a collection that the late Gardner Baker had begun for his museum, nearly a decade earlier, during General Washington's triumphant first term in office. But in July 1799, the museum wilted in the drowsy Manhattan summer, its hush scarcely broken by the arrival of two young women in plain Quaker dress. Accompanying them was a strapping young man in the simple garb of a carpenter on his day off. Elma. The younger of the two women fell all too readily into morbid reverie, and sometimes her cousin Hope had to rouse her. But in such a place as this, how could one not stop to gaze in wonder? Towering above them was Gilbert Stuart's grand oil portrait of Washington. The great man looked out over the museum, a reminder of when the country and the museum itself were both still new and wondrous. Back then, Manhattan was the infant country's capital, and Baker's museum was still housed down on Wall Street, in a lovely sky-blue antechamber of the Stock Exchange. Customers paid 2 shillings to view an immense and intricate clock that waltzed through an entire concert, get shocked by one of Baker's splendid electrical machines, and stand in awe of a marvelous work of glass sculpture. A transparent monument, the ads promised. A figure of Christopher Columbus. It was lit to a fiery glow by a cunning arrangement of lanterns and chandeliers. But now the glow was fading. The sounds of commerce from Greenwich Street filtered into the new quarters that the old curator's widow had been reduced to. Not so long ago, the museum had been wildly awake with Gardner's latest scheme, a menagerie of living animals, including everything from a pair of wolves and a bald eagle to a monkey and a mongoose, a beautiful animal from the island of Madagascar. Now they had lapsed into silence. Elma's cousin, Hope Sands, wandered past the nailed-shut storage boxes, filled perhaps, with old Mr. Baker's hundreds of volumes of philosophy and natural history. And their fellow boarder, Levi Weeks, could pause before the wax figures of the great boxers Mendoza and Humphreys, still posed as if ready to clobber each other. Nearby, a figure of Ben Franklin gazed impotently among waxworks of once titillating feminine beauties of New York, Annapolis, Salem, and New Haven. The famed musical concert clock is for sale, visitors were mournfully informed. That is, should you wish to buy it. They did not. They were ready to leave. It was a shame, the passing of the old curator. But that summer in New York, deaths were no surprise at all. Signs hung along the streets, creaking slightly whenever the breeze stirred, each proclaiming where its shopkeeper had come from. Stephen Dando, from London. Hatter. Law and Butte, from Glasgow. Bootmakers. Antoine Arnaud, à la Paris, marchand tailleur. It was a tradition peculiar to Manhattan. Shopkeepers mentioned their hometowns in the hope of landing customers from their newly arrived countrymen. For everyone here, it seemed, hailed from somewhere else. Manhattan was where you went to reinvent yourself, whether you were slightly fractured nobility from Paris, a rabble-rousing radical from London, or, like Elma and Hope, young Quaker women from an upstate farm, simply looking to find better prospects in life. The city swelled with such arrivals, and its population of 60,000 made it the largest city in the young republic. Greenwich Street, once a rustic lane running through riverside meadows, was now sprouting fashionable brick houses and storefronts at a stunning rate. After a visit to Widow Baker's museum, You could stop into William Maxwell's Distiller and Tallow Chandler for a good dose of his vaunted rum.